Welcome to the Literary License Podcast, Kings of Horror episodes, where we dive down into famous horror writers and their movie counterparts. With your co-hosts Vicky Ray, Leandro Gazzi, and Keith Shago, reading horror and watching films and discussing in full bloody detail. Hello, welcome to the Literary License Podcast, and it's our end of Kings of Horror Books to Screen as we finish Season 5 and go into Season 6 next month. And today we are covering The Rats by James Herbert and Deadly Eyes, a 1982 film that has a lot to be desired. So before we get started, let's find out who's with us today. We got Vicky Ray with us. Hello, Vicky.
Hi, everybody. We
got Craig Johnson.
Hello.
Hello, Craig.
Hello.
And Leandro Gazzi. Hello, Leandro.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, and I'm your host, Keith Shago. And before we get started, let's find out what we've been up to. Let's start off with you, Craig. What have you been up to since last time we spoke to you?
I've been just, working. I'm on annual leave at the moment, but because I'm going to go to Ireland for my dad's wedding.
What island?
Tomorrow.
Where are you going?
In Cork.
Oh, really?
Nice. First time there, so I can't wait.
I'm sure pictures will follow, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've got my new camera ready, so get
awesome.
I've been planning. Well, me and David have been planning a couple of exhibitions. One to be confirmed for Covent Garden, an espresso cafe there, and I've also in the process of applying for the Lauderdale House annual photo exhibition, which is in Highgate.
Awesome.
And it's going to be a show with me, David, and my mum. We're all submitting for photography.
Awesome.
There'll be probably hundreds of artists there displaying, and it's quite nice. They've got a cafe there. So that's to be confirmed for, I think, September time.
Oh, I can't wait to see it.
It's going to be cool. The theme is freedom, so we've been trying to go through as many pictures as possible what represents freedom. So it's been good. But and media-wise, I've been watching season 22 Blu-ray collection of Doctor Who.
I wouldn't have thought you'd be watching that.
And I'm going to start The Sandman today.
I saw the first episode last night because for some weird reason the rest of my episodes weren't showing up, or I would have binged it probably all in one night. Keith told me about it just yesterday. It's awesome. I got to watch the rest of it today, or try to get some more in today. That's
because Neil Gaiman, he's written for Doctor Who as well, so he's a pretty good author. So I'm going to check it out. I
was trying to figure out, is he a demon? The guy in the bottle?
Not the No, the Sandman's not a demon.
Because they got
the Sandman.
Right.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream.
Yeah, bring me a dream. Yeah, I know. He's just a different version of Sandman. That's all that I would have, thought of.
Yeah. No, it's from the comic book series.
I didn't even know there was one.
Yeah, from Dark Horse Comics. Same people who did the Umbrella Academy. That's a comic book series.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Same team.
That makes sense. So. It's excellent from what I've seen so far. I'm going to watch a little bit more of it.
They also do The Boys, which is also based on a comic book.
No wonder it's so good.
And what about yourself, Leandro? What have you been up to?
What have been up to? I have been working in the allotment, working the two jobs that I have. Last weekend we went with some friends to London to see Lady Gaga concert. It was really good, really good.
Oh, awesome! How was it?
Amazing, it was really good. Well, we were thinking, well, she didn't sing this song or that song or that song. But there are so many songs that are like famous that but it was really, really cool. And for me, my, let's say, ruler to measure if it sound the same that the CD or when you in YouTube is because it's good, and it was exactly the same. So
did they play any of her songs from A Star Is Born?
Yes. That one for The Shallow.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love that song.
Yeah, there's one that Always Remember That Way. And I think there was another one, but I can't remember right now. I'm really bad with names.
I haven't seen her in like over a decade. Like, been a while.
I watched the Gucci movie the other day. Really
Which
good.
one?
The one with Lady Gaga.
House of
Oh,
Gucci.
okay.
Yeah.
Not House of Gucci.
Yeah.
I think it's
that's
Is
it.
it House of Gucci?
Yeah, it's in Netflix. And
I haven't started it yet. I've heard good things about it.
Yeah, and yeah, reading this book. Well, I'm at work. It's like everyone is on holiday, but I'm not on holidays. Sometimes, and then at the end of the year, I'm going to Argentina for Christmas. So yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah,
I bet
after
you
2 years.
That's where most of your family is, isn't it?
Yeah, they're all there. So
I bet you that's going to be fantastic. I'm happy for you.
and today's my niece's birthday, so this one goes for her.
Cool.
Birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
And what about you, COVID, Vicky? What have you been up to?
Freaking COVID again. Only I'm not dying. This is like a bad cold and it's irritating. I'm really irritated. Just like, don't get me started. I'm trying to be good. We don't want all of our co-hosts to run for the hills. What did I watch? Oh, I binge watched Resident Evil. Did any of y'all watch that?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was excellent. It's just they better make a second season because I want to know what happens. They just can't leave it like that. You know, it was excellent. It explained a lot about stuff that I didn't understand. I don't play the game, but I know the stories. That it explains lots. It was an excellent 8 episodes. And I also did start Sandman. I'm going to try to finish watching some of that. I found this like 2005 movie. It probably was a sleeper movie, but it was called The Last Hangman. And it was about Albert Pierpont. He was the last hangman in Great Britain back in the 20s. And I guess he was hanging people up until the 50s because he was doing all the Nazis from the Nuremberg trial. And it was just a fascinating story. I mean, he got it down to 7.5 seconds. And, you know, and how he got it down to the second and third vertebrae, just like the guy was a total artiste when it came to hanging people. And who'd have thought, you know, so much science went into hanging somebody properly. But, you know, it was an interesting story. It really was. The guy that, I cannot remember his name, the person that played Albert Pierpont, he played the little, was it the rat in Harry Potter? What is his name? I know you guys, he's British. I know y'all know who I'm talking about.
Oh, he was in Off Widerson Pet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I watched a lot of Shudder lately and not really doing much. It's been so bleeding hot here in Texas. Been trying to save my garden, trying to spend a lot of time out there, but with 100-degree weather constantly, you know, all this global warming here in Texas for all the climate cult that I still don't buy. It's called summer. But anyway, other than that, not much going on. What's going on with you, Keith?
Timothy Spall.
Not a lot.
Thank
Been
you.
Working a lot. Yeah. Been working a lot, doing 24 to 48-hour shifts, so that's been fun. But I'm on holiday, so for the next 9 days. Yeah, for the next 9 days.
That would be why you're smiling. I never see smiles, though. You look happy.
I'm going out to dinner with Nina on Monday. And apparently
good. How's she doing?
She's doing really well. Apparently, there's some award dinner that they're offering. They're giving me some award for, but I wasn't quite sure what she was talking about. So I'll find out on Monday.
She's always got something going on for you, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And she's a good girl.
And speaking of Resident Evil, I just signed a contract, which I start not next week, but the week after, for writing for the 3rd series of the Resident Evil game for the Biohazard trilogy. So,
good for you. Congratulations.
Dialogue for those,
congratulations.
So that's good. So that's something else I can take off my bucket list. So, you know. So, but yeah, other than that, started watching Sandman, which is excellent. Been watching some Turkish programming at the moment. I saw this really good show, Turkish series on Netflix. Called Be Yourself or something. It's really good actually. But and then there's this new series on Sky Sci-Fi called From, which is kind of like a serialization, kind of like basically what happens is that if people come into this town, they can't leave, and the town's run by vampires, so they have to lock themselves in at night.
Sounds like 30 Days of Night almost.
Well, this one's a bit different because the thing is, there's like a fallen tree, and for some reason, if they don't turn around, they go around the fallen tree and they go in the town. No matter what they do, so they'll go to the end of the town, and next thing you know, they're back at the beginning of the town.
What's it
so
called?
They keep going through it. It's called From.
That sounds interesting.
So it's quite good, actually. It's quite violent and gory, so that was quite good. So,
did anybody watch They Them yet on Peacock? I either loved it or you hated it. I don't know. Kevin Bacon's in it.
I haven't seen that.
Or Prey. I meant to watch Prey.
Oh, I want to watch Prey after I saw Joe's review.
I know. Joe was saying it's fantastic last night.
I have to see that.
Yeah.
Any Shudder stuff?
I haven't really been paying too much attention to Shudder. Amazon changed their platforming on their app, so Shudder was kind of. I mean, it might be working now, but they changed their app last weekend. So I normally go in and see if there's anything on Shudder, but I haven't gone back in. So, but they seem to be like doing all the, normal stuff, aren't they, at the moment? Bringing a lot of oldies back.
I've been watching a lot of old stuff. There's a lot of cool old stuff on Turner Classic Movies lately. What is that? What I was telling Joe about the other day ago, the Secret Garden, I think it is.
Oh yeah, the Margaret O'Brien.
Yeah, the old one where they show it's sort of like Wizard of Oz. They show every time they go in the garden, it's color. And Asher actually sat down and watched it with me. He's 1948, and he actually liked it. So it was kind of cool watching that he actually liked something with all the CGI, and that it was a good story. I like the book too.
I was actually playing. There's a real good computer game called A Plague's Tale, called Innocence. That's part 1. Part 2 is out in October, but it's about basically this plague of rats that you have to use fire, and you have to sneak around. And I mean, the graphics are fantastic. I mean, it's a really good thing, but it just kind of makes your skin crawl a little bit. So it's like, so I finished that. So it's been quite good.
Rats don't bother me, but I guess in large numbers, as we will probably discuss, it would probably be a little annoying. We got a lot of them. I see them walking down the what do you call it, the telephone pole wires. Everybody goes, "You're crazy." I go, "No, they actually walk down the telephone pole wires at night."
Well, the problem with rats is that if you corner them, they will go after you. So,
oh yeah.
So they're not like mice, where it's like if you corner them, they keep trying to run away. So.
I remember big ones in Boston when I stayed there.
And speaking of rats, this brings us to The Rats, which is a 1974 horror novel by British writer James Herbert. This was Herbert's first novel and included graphic depictions of death and mutilation. A film adaptation was made in 1982 called Deadly Eyes, a 1985 adventure game for the Commodore 64 and ZX Spectrum, based on the book, which was published by Hodder and Stoughton and produced by GXT 5-Way Software. The Rats was followed by 3 sequels, Lair from 1979, Domain in 1984, and The City in 1993. The last one was a graphic novel. All 3 books were sold as trilogy and were very well received by the public and horror fans. What we're going to do is cut to the synopsis of The Rats and be right back to discuss The Rats. This is the synopsis for The Rats by James Herbert. The novel opens by introducing the reader to an alcoholic vagrant resting in an abandoned and forgotten lockkeeper's house by a canal. As he is ruminating over the injustices inflicted upon him in his life, he is suddenly set upon by a pack of black rats the size of small dogs and is devoured alive. Harris, a young East London art teacher, knows that one of his students has a bloodied bandage around his hand. When he inquires as to what caused the damage, the student answers that he was attacked by a rat. Meanwhile, a baby girl and her dog are killed by the giant rats, now aided by packs of smaller black rats. The girl's mother rescues her daughter's mutilated body, but not before sustaining bites as well. Harris takes the student to the hospital and sees the grieving mother with her dead child. According to the doctor, the number of seemingly unprovoked rat attacks has strangely increased. The next rat attack occurs at the remains of a bomb site, where a group of squabbling vagrants are slaughtered. Harris is visited at work by the Minister of Health, Mr. Foskins, who reveals that the bitten students and all the other surviving victims of rat attacks died of a mysterious disease 24 hours after being bitten. Foskins asks Harris to keep the existence of the disease a secret and lead an exterminator named Ferris to the area where the student has been bitten. Accompanied by Ferris, Harris goes to the canal described by the student and sights a group of giant rats. Harris attempts to contact the police while Ferris follows the rats, who then attack and kill him. The rat attacks become increasingly more daring, as more and more public areas are attacked. A tube station is assaulted, leaving few survivors. Next, Harris's own school is attacked, resulting in the death of the headmaster. With the existence of the rat's disease now becoming public knowledge, a meeting is held in which a young researcher by the name of Stephen Howard comes up with the idea of using a virus to infect the rats. The virus is injected into several puppies, which are left in areas of the attacks. The results in the deaths of thousands of rats, which crawl to the surface to die. A few weeks later, however, the rats adapt to the virus, at the same time losing the toxicity of their bites. The rats brutally attack a cinema and overrun the London Zoo. Based on the fact that rats communicate with each other using ultrasound, a plan is formulated to use ultrasonic machines to lure the rats into poison gas chambers. Foskins is dismissed as health minister and reveals to Harris that he has been investigating possible clues as to the rats' origins and comes to the conclusion that they were illegally smuggled into the country by a zoologist named William Bartlett Schiller from an island near New Guinea, which had been near some nuclear tests. At his home by an East London canal, Schiller had bred these mutant rats with common black rats, producing a new and deadly strain. They later killed him and escaped. Pursuing the disgraced health minister's past ways of entranced rats, Harris finds the abandoned house and enters it. He goes into the cellar and finds Foskins' corpse being devoured by rats of unusually giant size. He kills them after a bloody battle and discovers the rat's alpha hidden in the shadows, a white, hairless, and obese rat with 2 heads. Harris kills the creature with an axe in a fit of rage and leaves. The epilogue indicates that one female rat survived the purge by being trapped in the basement of a grocery shop. There it gives birth to a new litter, including a new white 2-headed rat. And this is synopsis for The Rats by James Herbert. Now back to the show. Hello, welcome back to the Literal Lessons Podcast. We're discussing The Rats by James Herbert, and it's starting with you, Leandro. What are your thoughts of The Rats by James Herbert?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the book. How, easy to read, short chapters. I like, but I think comparing to the movies based in a different time and in a different place. But I really enjoy how the author explained. Again, we have other authors that short words explain really good, like really easy. You can make the idea in your mind like really quickly. It was to me like it was really well explained how things happen, and then I like. There was the part of that lady that used to be really like Catholic, but like when they go to the church all the time, that are living in the church.
Devout.
I can't remember the name. She fell in love with a man, and then the man kind of joined to go to the Second World War, and then she was all the time comparing him because he never came back with other people that she was meeting, and how all that ended. But it was like it seems like it's all at the same time, like we associate rats with like dirty things and kind of they're like the bad thing of the society, let's say. And it's like I find like a kind of like an analogy between that and people, the bad, like I don't know if it's the bad, but like our wildest side, let's say, like this lady that she was like ending like being a prostitute, like and kind of lost. I don't know.
The backstories, yeah, he had kind of made these little backstories just so the people could be cannibalized by rats later on in their backstory. Usually they seem like drunken, miserable people that weren't going to achieve anything in their lives anyway. Like the poor gay guy. I felt bad for him. I mean, he seemed like a nice person, basically, and back then things weren't accepted and people were kind of cruel and whatnot. But I mean, he didn't have any better of a fate. It seemed like, I don't know, were they killing people that could be considered sinners in society at that time? I mean, what was the point of the author going there,
Well, I mean, the first killing is of a lower class family, but I mean, she was married and waiting for her husband to come home, and it kills the baby and the dog, sort of thing, which is quite gruesome in its own right.
I was upset about the dog. No killing of dogs, please.
But
so I really enjoyed the book. I would recommend it.
It was an easy read, didn't you think?
Sorry?
It was an easy read.
Yeah. Well, it was part. I mean, when The Rats was first published, it's part of the whole pulp horror phenomenon that was going out in paperbacks at that time.
Well, there was a lot of animals. Jaws came out at that time. You had the zoo ones that came out at that time. There was all kinds of animal horror coming out in the mid-'70s.
But you also had like, I mean, you can get paperbacks called Paperbacks from Hell, which gives you a chronological order of how paperbacks in the 80s are like a lot of pulp horror was coming out, and Rats is part of it. I mean, so what they were basically is horror novels are very short chapters and they're very staccato in their storytelling, sort of thing. So, what are your thoughts, Craig, on Rats?
Oh, I absolutely love this book. It's up there with one of my favorite horror books.
You gonna read the other ones?
I've read a couple. I read Creed.
Oh, you did?
That sort of affected me as well, but this was just a classic beginning, middle, and end. It wasn't too heavy. It was very descriptive.
It really was. I love
the off-screen, what I call off-screen deaths, but deaths that were set up like with the family and then the man, but I love the big attacks, like at London Zoo. That was a really good.
That was upsetting, the London Zoo, and the guy wanted to save his animals. I just don't kill animals. I don't know if he what is it about that? I mean, you can watch, I know you guys feel the same way about some stuff, but you can watch people die or anything else, but if it's the puppies, now that was another distressing thing, injecting the puppies and feeding the puppies to these horrible rats.
It's a bit like when Michael Myers kills someone's dog and you think, no, don't do that.
Don't kill the dog, It's sort of like Pippin in Jaws, the Labrador. Pippin!
Well, one thing that I like is like, because all the other books that we have read, now being like this is the closing of the season, right? They were like, that was like something like, okay, something that we don't know what it is, right? Something that is beyond, something that is like, I don't know, a ghost. This is something real, something that exists, that is like really near to every one of us, right? And that's, I think, is the I don't know, like the cool thing is like, okay, it's dead in like in a different shape. Well, of course, there doesn't exist this type of rat that I know. But basically,
interestingly enough, before Rats came out, there was two huge films that were huge box office smashes. The first one was called Willard.
Yeah.
And the sequel called Ben, which Michael
Yes,
Jackson
I
sang the
remember
theme song
those.
with.
What was that song,
The
Michael
two of us
Jackson
may
song?
look no more. So
Michael Jackson song. What was it
Ben,
for?
it
Was
was
it for
Ben.
Ben?
Yeah, that was the sequel to Willard. So then Rats comes along. But I think what's interesting about Rats I found was the simple fact that all you had to do was be bitten by them and you're dead as well. You had 24 hours.
Sort of like a zombie bite.
Like a snake.
And I like the idea that he was saying that technically, this is another thing that I like is like, it's not that if they bite you, you die, but just there's no reason behind. They were explaining that it was a disease called leptospirosis, and it's like, it was like something like that disease like kind of like increased it in power. That's why it was killing you in one day, didn't give you any time. I think it's like they were saying that the other illness in kind of 8 days, kind of with antibiotics, you are fine, but it's not with this one because it wasn't giving you the time to the doctor to check and see what it was to fix it.
I think I jumped ahead of myself because I couldn't figure out where the rats came from until I got into the part of the zoo. I was going to Keith. I go, did they not mention where these rats come from? And finally, the guy smuggled them in from New Guinea, right?
That's New Guinea, yeah. And of course, it goes back to the whole, in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s, there was a big fear of nuclear warfare happening, and so of course I guess Herbert brings it back to the whole nuclear testing in New Guinea, and then this mad scientist decides that basically he's going to breed them, and of course they turn on him. I think another thing that's quite interesting about the rats is that if you look at London in the 1400s, what they had was the plague, which was caused by the rats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that was caused by the fleas in rats.
And the big fire in London destroyed it.
Yeah, and the reason why took off is because at that time cats were illegal in London.
Really? I didn't know that.
And after that, they had to reintroduce cats back into.
Really? No kidding. That's an interesting little fact.
Well, cats have just been categorized as an invasive alien species.
They did. Did you read that somewhere? Yeah. I just read that somewhere. I can't remember where I read it. I can't remember where I read that now. Maybe it's something you sent me or posted or something on Instagram. But I remember somebody saying something about that just this week past.
Because didn't Disney do a movie about cats, the cat from outer space, like back in the 70s?
Probably. I just don't
remember that. Old Disney film.
Sleepwalkers. It's got cats in it.
Tommy Knockers.
Sleepwalkers. Yeah. No, Sleepwalkers.
Sleepwalkers.
Sleepwalkers. That's the one with Alice Krige from Ghost Story.
Oh yeah. Okay. Isn't that where she's sleeping with her own son?
Yeah.
That was really, really inky for back then. That was cringe. Really cringe.
Actually, Sleepwalkers is quite interesting because at the beginning of our season, we did Ghost Story, it had Alice Krige in it. And of course, we did Nightbreed, which had her son in it, Craig Schaefer, who was in Nightbreed.
I didn't know that. Yeah. I didn't know that was her son. No kidding. Yeah. I did not know that.
So, yeah. It's like 6 degrees of separation. I mean, I think another thing I found what's quite interesting about rats is that they could communicate with each other as well. And that there was like they operated on a hive effect kind of thing, that there was like the queen, and then the queen was actually sonaring out and stuff like this. But I guess another thing that's interesting is the politics behind the rats. If you look at that basically when it was affecting the poor, it was concerned, but it's only when it started affecting a major part of society that, okay, we need to do something about this. So that was quite interesting. It's like, well, if it's doing homeless people, it's not a problem. Oh no, it's going after kids at schools. Oh, we better do something now.
Yeah. Because they say that if you see one rat, there's about 100 down below, near or nearby. So you're always around them. It's like we coexist in this symbiosis.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe the size of the cockroach that crawled up through my plumbing about 4 days ago, too. And I had just finished watching that stupid movie Mimic, too. And I was screaming. Literally 2:30, I thought my husband was going to kill me. Screaming my bloody head off with a can of Raid and a lighter. I was like, no, I don't do critters. Rats wouldn't scare me near as much.
In London, they said you're never more than 10 feet away from a rat at any given time.
Wow. That's what I was told when I was there a ways back. They must really like y'all over there or something, because they seem home in Great Britain.
Well, it's a sewer system, isn't it, here? So thing. Apparently, if you go in the sewer systems, the rats can be the size of small puppies, like the size of puppies.
They get big in New York too.
Wow. Yeah, New York they get really big as well. I've seen them in there.
You get alligators over there, don't you, in the sewers?
I've heard of rare instances here and there, but I've never heard of anything like the movie.
I don't know how much of that's true and how much that's urban legend, though.
A little bit of both, I think, because they have found them in the sewer systems. They have,
but it's always a friend of a friend of a friend sort of thing that you hear about it from. You know what I mean? It's like, a friend of mine said that their friend works in the sanitation system, and it's okay.
Well, people do flush that shit down the toilet, though. They do.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, they would have to. They need oxygen. Alligators do.
Well, yeah.
So,
I would never want to go into a New York sewer system to figure any of that out. Can you imagine?
I wouldn't want to go in any city sewer system anywhere in the world.
Oh God, no. Those poor guys.
Sorry. I was checking biggest rats ever found. There was one looks like the size of a cat. Oh my God.
Where was it?
I'm not just putting in Google to see in New York. It said giant rats in New York. We're checking Central Park. Huge tail. Yeah, size of more or less like a cat. Sorry.
Yeah, cat sized.
They're giant rats in Brooklyn.
Apparently, there's more rats than there are people in the world as well.
That's what I read.
You know, so if they become colonized and decide, if that's going to say that something happens and they're able to effectively work, colonize and work as one. I mean, they could take us over, really.
Well, as long as nobody's infecting them with COVID or monkeypox, we should be okay. then it'll dawn on them. We can take these fuckers over. It's like you never know. They test rats for everything.
I mean, the thing about rats, though, they can actually chew through steel.
I don't know about that. But
yeah, no, they can.
They could.
No, they apparently they can. It's like mice can be pretty rotund, but even I remember that we had to there was a hole that they put up in it, and I know my housemate goes, "Why don't you just put some steel there?" And they go, "Oh, that's not going to stop the rats because they can actually gnaw through steel." So I thought,
interesting. God, they are some survivor for us. They're like cockroaches. They survive. They just do. They're just very hardy, even when it comes to all kinds of adversity.
Well, they can have a litter like every 3 months.
They call them pups.
Well, I read the other day, but I think it's like they can have. Do you call it litters, right? I think like 3 times per year, or between 3 and 5, but that's all. I was thinking before that every month they can be having a no, and it's like I think it's like 3 times in a year, and then the rest of the time, it must be looking after the kids.
Well, the thing is, if you take those 3, and then they're able to have babies with that after they're 3 months old.
Okay.
So that's why they.
But isn't the male rat in the book? Isn't this sort of like the queen bee? It wasn't a queen rat. It was a male rat with 2 heads, wasn't it?
The albino.
He doesn't have hair and stuff.
I just remember it was so fat it couldn't move. I remember that about it. It's basically just like.
Oh, it's a female rat. I digress. Yeah. There was one female rat survived the purge, and that was the one I didn't. Oh, that's right. It gave birth to a new white-headed, 2-headed rat. Okay, That's where we pick up with the book. I'm half tempted to buy that book. I want to see what happens.
The second one, Domain, I think, is the second one in the piece. But yeah, the thing is rats are like wasps, and and mosquitoes. Like, what purpose do they have in ecology, really? Really? What's their purpose? Wasps are mean. I mean, God forbid.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, they're vindictive. They'll come. I mean, they're not like
Those
these
yellow jackets. Yellow jackets are vindictive. They will chase you down at a picnic table. They don't give a shit. They are so aggressive. I hate Texas.
Never go through towards a nest or anything like that.
With the trash right by. There's trash. Like, remember the old A&W in Watertown years ago? It had those yellow wasps circling the trash. You'd be ordering shit and trying to save your life at the same time.
It's like those flying ants as well. What's the purpose of those flying ants?
Oh, them. No shit. Yeah.
They always come out like the same time of year. It's like really nice weather, and all of a sudden you get like this really kind of humidity day, and all of a sudden it's like you just see them all coming out of the ground. It's like, where the hell have they been all year? Just waiting for that one day that they all come out. And you have to like be careful because they bite. But yeah, cockroaches as well. I mean, what service is a cockroach to ecology? Really?
They're just here to give me PTSD. Clearly, it doesn't matter in Texas how clean your house is, because they will come out when it's like this. They're looking for water, so they will kind of come in. And they're like, this one was like 2 inches I had in here. And then Scott said he flushed it down the toilet, but 2 mornings later, there was another one in its place. So I don't know if it got away from him and he's lying to me. But I mean, I was 2 clockworks. Like, I just don't do that stuff. If it was a rat, I would have freaked out less.
I never actually saw a cockroach until I moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
and
I only saw one staying at my auntie's bar.
Oh, they were huge. The ones in Tulsa were huge. And after that, I could never eat pecan pie ever again because pecan pies look like cockroaches on top of it. It's like never. I was like, I walked into this place, turned the light on, and it's like, and they just scatter. It's like, and they make sounds. Their little feet make sounds, and there's a lot of them. They click. Like, oh, no.
It's sort of like that movie. I'm telling you, it's like that movie Mimic. You expect him to stand up and have a face. I'm just so.
Well, Texas, I mean, where you are, they fly. That's even worse.
I know, this one had wings. That's why I had a lighter with an aerosol can of rain. If that thing took to friggin' flying, I was gonna burn the whole house.
Yeah, those are horrible. The one that can fly.
Oh, you got them down in South America. They're probably inside the sanitation trucks there.
Horrible. I mean, the one that can crawl, I don't mind much, but the one that can fly is another level of. No.
No, I don't do them things.
What about so what do you think about the people characters in here? The teacher character.
Eris.
Yeah.
I didn't understand him as he was kind of a bland protagonist. I mean, I was wondering why they used a school teacher or a teacher for a protagonist, kind of, sort of, you know.
It was kind of bland. I mean, his girlfriend apparently was hot. So,
yeah.
You know. But, yeah, I mean, it just seemed to be like, and I don't know, I don't really understand why he was in the middle of everything. He was just like, was he an elementary school teacher? He was an elementary school teacher.
I wasn't sure. I thought he was more high schoolish. They're a little older because of the kid with the hurt hand that got bit by the rat. Wasn't he high school?
I thought he was like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
Well, maybe so.
So, and I thought to myself, I was like, okay, he's a junior high teacher if you're looking at American ways or looking at American grading. But it's kind of like, he's just kind of a strange person to be. I mean, I guess it's they have an everyman in the middle of this kind of a situation. But it's just like, but even like, he wasn't like versed in, I don't know, whatever a specialist in rats, ratology. He wasn't a ratologist.
What was it, Foskey, or is that his name, Foskey? Was that Fosk?
Well, he was just a government. Yeah, he was a health minister, so that's something, you know, that's something else in there. But it just seemed like, it just seemed kind of like, oh, they ran to him every time there was a problem, and I thought because he had a student that got bit by a rat,
right? So
you know what I mean? It's just so. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from the story, but I didn't find him that charismatic. It's just like
they were down by this canal. Okay, refresh my memory. I've not been in London in a long time. When they're talking about canal, they hanging out by the Thames, down by the river, or the waterways?
No, we have a canal. Have you ever been to Camden?
I don't believe I was.
Camden, there's a canal, and that canal runs through London.
Okay.
And basically, the canal in its day used to be able to run goods. I think it ran east and west in it. So it would run goods through the northern part,
Okay, I gotcha.
north, east, and west of London, sort of thing.
That
So
makes sense.
they go for the Thames, and then there'd be a canal system that they can get it outside of London.
Sort of like the Erie Canal kind of thing, same difference. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, no, I mean you can do canal trips and all through England now because that's how.
That'd be cool.
So that's becoming quite a big thing now. So,
But the black rats were different from the other rats.
there was the imported rats, which were the ones who kind of had control, and the normal black rats that were indigenous to England were the ones that are kind of like the front soldiers. You know, they sent them out first, and then the bigger rats were like
I don't know.
a bit
My
like
favorite...
Roman soldiers and their gay lovers. They put the gay lover in the front. A bit like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I never understood that actually, especially the Greeks used to do the same thing.
What's that again?
They put their gay lover on the front lines, and then the lover would be behind them as they fought. And I always thought to myself, like, who made the decision of which lover was in the front, which one was in the back? Who made that decision?
I didn't know that actually. That's interesting. Better you than me?
Yeah, I mean, I had to sit there and say, I mean, if it was me,
kind of selfish.
It wouldn't be me in the front line. I'll use my other half as like a shield. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to do that.
We definitely pushed Scott out there before me. That's for sure. Take it for the team.
It's like when we do fire drills at work, and they're going, "Oh, Keith, why aren't you rushing out?" I go, "Listen, there's a fire drill here. I'm just going to grab someone in a wheelchair and use them as a battering ram." Yeah, not my greatest PC moment, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I haven't read I had downloaded the sequels, but because I had a bunch of books that had to come in that need to be reviewed, I haven't got around to them. But they are on my Kindle. But I noticed that they moved to the country, and I noticed the second book in this series does go to the country. So it does move to the country. So I'm not quite sure if the main character continues with the story, or is it a new set of characters. But I know by the time that the third and fourth book come, that basically man is almost no more, and the rats have taken over. So
I don't know if you guys had a favorite kill in the book, but I had to say my favorite kill was the bunch of drunks sitting around fighting and arguing. It's like, yes. If anybody needed to be cannibalized by rats, it was the arguing drunks.
And the woman. The old woman who's like basically like with her little bottle of alcohol.
And they want her bottle of alcohol and stuff. They're all gonna thieve it from her.
Yeah. I mean, I have to sit there and say, I mean, this is James Herbert's first book, actually.
Yeah, it is. Not bad though. Still big.
Yeah, it was good.
I think it's quite good. I mean, he was working in advertising, and he said all his advertising, because there's in the Kindle one, there's a little note from him in there, and it said that all his fellow employees or fellow colleagues are all trying to write books, and he didn't tell anyone, and it came out and became like a huge success. Sort of thing.
Well, there must have been something about the 70s. You got the advent of Stephen King and Straub, and you just got all these great authors just starting to just crank this good stuff out. And I mean, a lot of it was about crazy animals, I mean, I guess zoos going nuts and animals turning on you has quite a bit of
Well, if you look at
mileage for it. So.
But if you look at movies at that time, like in the 70s and early 80s, well, more late 70s, where you had the Swarm about the killer bees, you had there's always like some kind of animal or some kind of insect, and if they weren't normal size, they became bigger size, like food for the gods.
Yes.
American Werewolf in London was
that was They fired him. He used to be the Dr. Pepper guy here in the United States who did that, did the movie. And
Yeah.
when he showed his bare arse in the movie, he was no longer representative of Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, so he's a pepper, you're a pepper, and I guess
Or
he's
wouldn't
not
you
gonna
want to be a
too.
pepper too? Yep.
Be a
You were
pepper
here, you know what I'm
too,
talking
Dr.
about.
Pepper. Yeah, I remember David Naughton.
Mm-hmm.
He did have a hit song though.
I don't recall.
Making it. Woohoo, woohoo.
He did that song?
Making it. Yeah, because it was a theme song.
I never knew that. Today's the day of facts I never knew, I guess.
Yeah. So he had a hit single, a hit movie, and a hit commercial. So.
And then he was broke.
Yeah.
Sadly.
So I guess what we should do is maybe rate the rats. Starting with you, Craig. What do you rate the rats out of 5?
I'm going to give this 5 rats out of 5.
And what about yourself, Leandro?
Yeah, 5 out of 5.
And Vix?
I'm going to give it 4.5 rat testicles, only because I just cannot stand puppies being used for anything, because they injected the puppies. That is just something I can't have in my mind, when it comes to little doggies and stuff. But actually, it really deserves a 5. It's actually a great novel. For a first one, it's an easy read. I mean, it was like 203 pages. I mean, you can fly right through it.
I found that I was reading it and I wasn't putting it down much. I was just continuing reading it, and it just really captivated me. And
I like books like that. If you get vested in the characters. Well, I was vested you couldn't really get vested in the characters because they were just,
very episodic.
Yeah, apathetic dregs of society kind of. And what is with I was reading this analogy. Some guy reviewed this book. I'm sorry if you're out there listening to this. I cannot remember your name. But he was talking about how this kind of refracted and was talking about how British society looks down on the poor and the working class, and the elitists are the rats consuming the poor, which you're not supposed to say anything bad about, I guess, over there. You're never supposed to say anything bad about the poor.
Well, funnily enough, I mean, it kind of fits into the movies that we did for the 80s last month with Society.
Right?
The rich suck off the poor.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm going to rate this for violence. I'm going to say 5. It's a really good
Absolutely.
read. I will give it a 4 for the characterizations. I didn't really like the main character. I kind of wish that we had a main character that was in the middle of something that made a little bit more sense.
Yeah, being the school teacher. Yeah, no, he really, like I said, he was kind of a weird protagonist. I mean, he was.
I guess if he was like a rat specialist or something like that would make more sense. But
was there any rat specialists in any of this though? I mean, Foskey was the only.
No, I mean even the Rent-A-Kill guys weren't really specialists, were they?
even the red shirts in the movie didn't have any good protagonism going on. Yeah.
So
before we give it at least 1 for the dead baby though.
Yeah, I mean it's an excellent book to read. I mean, it's an easy book to read. I mean, it keeps you involved in stuff like this. Just if I was going to be finicky about the whole situation, I just kind of wish that the main character was someone I could actually get involved with. I mean, I was kind of hoping that he'd die. You know what I mean? You
had the epilogue, but it didn't really say if he ever did get back to everybody he was missing at the very end. Kind of left it open.
He was very negative anyway. It's like, I grew up in this area, but now I'm back to this area, and blah blah blah, sort of thing. You know what I mean? So he didn't seem to like anyone really. He didn't even like his girlfriend that much. I mean, the only time he was in a good mood, he went and met the old biddy in the country.
Yeah.
So, but that's pretty much it. Before we move on to the film Deadly Eyes, since this is our last episode, what was your favorite book of this season of Kings of Horror? And let's start with you, Vicky, because you're the one that's got you're the one with bewilderment on your face.
Because I'm trying to think back. I'm like, God, I wish you would have warned me because I would have had my list. What have we done? We've done so much.
Dead Zone, Cabal, Battle Royale, Ghost Story.
And Battle Royale. I liked all of them. I don't want to just pick one. They were all good.
Well, you must have a favorite of those.
Favorite? I'd have to say Ghost Story was one of my favorites. I love Peter Straub. I always have. I mean, but then again, usually I hate it when you interviewed us, you asked us our favorite author when we did that. I really should have said my favorite author is probably the book I'm reading at the moment, because I really like everybody after I finished a good book. But Ghost Story, I really liked that book. I don't know. And I wish they would have done a little more of the book into the movie to make it, and Battle Royale was just brilliant. Loved it. I mean, I like the ones, especially the ones I was not aware of that was new to me, because it's always nice getting in something new, because what might be 20 years old and I haven't seen is new to me. And that kind of makes a little bit of an impact.
And about yourself, Craig, out of the Kings of Horror, what was your favorite book of the year?
I really enjoyed The Dead Zone, but I really liked the writing style of the Ghost Story book. That was something else. That was on another level.
It was.
And then I liked the quirkiness of what was that one? Green Thoughts about the
plant.
That was very quirky. Yeah, that was like, that was another.
That was fun. That was just fun.
Yeah.
And what about yourself, Leandro? What was your favorite book?
I was thinking today. This is a really hard question. I just have to mention the other. I think I will say with Cabal. Well, I don't know. I mean, for example, A Little Shop of Horrors it was really easy to read and really cool to watch. Not so heavy story, but and The Dead Zone is what's his name? I can't remember.
Stephen King.
Yeah, I have to go and check the book because it's one of my favorite authors, but it's really, really hard. So yeah, I think I'll stay with Cabal.
My favorite book's probably Ghost Story, because it's one of those I've always wanted to read, and I finally got around to reading it for this, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I've read Dead Zone quite a few times, and I like the whole. There's parts of that I really do like, and I sort of thing. But I've said to say my second best book would be Battle Royale.
I know it's just that I loved that. The only problem I had with that again is I had to wrap my head around the names, because when you have the Chinese the name for the person.
Maybe because
it messes me up in the sentence, so I just had to concentrate. What's that, Leandro?
Maybe because they were Japanese, not Chinese.
Yes, Japanese. Hey, I've got COVID fog here. Leave me alone.
And I think that's your problem. I told you don't need to worry about the names. It's like the Lord of the Rings.
It was the names, though. And if it's anything Asian like that, messes me up.
This is like the Lord of the Rings. If you try to understand all the cards in the Lord of the Rings, you will become like older and not remember all.
It was any of the books. Like if you read Ringu and all that stuff.
We did The Ring as well, didn't we? So
I mean that was good too. But instead of then the J horror is just the names, because I have to look at the name and then I have to just say, oh, this is a person, then sentence. I don't know why I have such a hard time wrapping around Asian names.
See, that's the reason why I can't read fantasy novels, is because of the names.
The names.
Because you just know that some author somewhere is just making shit up, just making names up. They're putting a bunch of random letters together. Tolkien, like as you were saying, like of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
right.
You're just putting a bunch of letters together and just forming words that don't.
But I remember when I read it, it's like I say, for example, Keith, son of Peter, son of the John, and then I started to mention the whole family, going backwards, and then I thought, well. I have problems to remember names, so I thought, well, I'm going to do this. I'm just carry on with the story, and then the story will take me. And then in the end, you get the story. You don't remember.
It was so good. Battle Royale was great. Kind of reminded me of, oh my God, why can't I think of it? Dr. Lau. Dr. Lau kind of did that to me too. I don't know.
Why. I love Dr. Lau. That was great when we did.
What was the name of I can't remember now the name of the book before Battle Royale. The one with they have the gland in the brain.
From Beyond by H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah. See that? I don't know. It's really hard for me to choose because
I loved that movie. Barbara Crampton was in that, wasn't she? From Beyond. Was she in that? Yeah. Love that movie. That was just a riot. That was a total hoop.
Well, speaking of movies, this brings us to Deadly Eyes, also known as The Rats, and also known as The Rat and Night Eyes. It's a 1982 Canadian horror film directed by Robert Clouse, very, very loosely based on the 1974 horror novel The Rats by James Herbert. The story revolves around giant black rats who begin eating the residents of Toronto after ingesting contaminated grain. What we're going to do is cut to the trailer of Deadly Eyes and be right back.
They have been here since the dawn of time. They were on the battlefield with Alexander the Great. They were on the edge of Moscow with Napoleon. They're on every continent, in every city, and we do little to stop them. They're here now, waiting, watching. They've gone unchecked, unnoticed, and now they're monsters.
What's the matter? My hand! Something bit my hand! Are you okay? Let's get the hell out of here.
But the bite itself is much larger than anything I'm familiar with. No, if I had to guess, I'd say something in the order of a Great Dane. Except the dogs don't have the jaw pressure to stab through those metacarpals that cleanly.
Would you believe the other day I saw a rat this big?
Are you through?
No, I mean it. He was this big.
Perhaps you could just go and check out the drain for me, please.
It's hard to believe that rats, even sewer rats, would attack a grown man.
As far as I'm concerned, they're just stories.
Overpopulated, oversized, and hungry. Not just for food, but for...
Paul, your lady friend was absolutely right about the rats. They've gotten into the subway.
The rat population of the world is estimated to be 108 billion, 24 times the human population. Deadly Eyes.
Hello, welcome back to the Literary Legends Podcast. We're discussing Deadly Eyes in 1982, which is based very loosely on James Herbert's The Rats.
Very loosely.
Starting with you, Craig, what are your thoughts of Deadly Eyes?
Well, you've cleared it up for me because the one that I've got was a Spanish version and it's called Night Eyes, and I got confused.
Really?
It's the same.
Yeah,
I had to get the movie, right?
Yeah,
I had to get the Spanish DVD as well.
I couldn't find anything, and Joe had to send me somebody's. It's called My Edited Movie. I don't know how he found it, but he sent it to me. It was a bad, print, obviously, but it was a pirate. But it's the only way I could watch it. This movie is not available anywhere except if you buy the DVD for $85. Not happening, even for my buddy Keith.
Yeah,
maybe the tourist board banned it.
Yeah, really hard to find. I ended up finding in YouTube in Spanish, A Pain in the Ass. No, and also the image. When it has been recorded, I think from an old cinema, that you could see all the little dots on the screen. So I thought, plus I wouldn't recommend. This movie to watch. Like I have done others that I say, yeah, this one is. The story is like well, not the same as the book. Second is like the visual effects, and I couldn't say it's the year, because 1982 we have seen other movies older, and it's like a bit clever. Some rat don't look real. It's like a teddy bear.
They look like dogs. Someone had threw a rug on some dogs. I mean, somebody's. Yeah. I don't know what they did, but I was dying. I was laughing so hard.
Yeah, because there was one when they were in the underground, and then you could hear the rats. I don't know what's the name. I don't know how you call it. Like when they do like that.
Yeah, they were roaring like lions.
I'm not. It was like human doing.
They were roaring like tigers and lions too at some point, and I'm going, man.
I have to sit there and say this movie had one of the most uncomfortable sex scenes I've ever seen.
I know.
What was going on?
What was with that too? It's like, what the fuck? And then he has the teenage girl who plays in 1984. They always got her playing some form of harlot kind of thing. She's the bad girl in 1984. Teachers and stuff. Oh my God, what's her name? But yeah, that was a strange sex scene. I mean, they had to make it silhouette the sex scene to make it worse.
It's not her sex scene. It's the one between the two adults. The woman with the resting bitch face. I mean, she had that every look. She just looked like she stepped in something. It's just like she had this bitch face, this resting bitch face on the whole time.
Yeah,
he's like touching her, and he's like going for her tit, and she's just giving him this stare, like she's like gonna turn him to stone.
Well, I mean, it was silhouetted, so you had to see the popped up nipple, which is like, come on, man. Can we usually like, where's the sex? This one did not do anything for me. No. Maybe it was because it was the guy, the actor. What's his name? Sam Groom?
I don't know. I mean,
and they killed Scatman Crothers off. I mean, they killed the Scatman off. It's just like, come on, he was the best part of the whole movie.
I just expect him to break into Everybody Wants to Be a Cat at any moment. Ricky.
I think if it was
Lisa Langlis, that's who it is. Lisa Langlis. The blonde girl, the one that shows up naked in his room while his son's out there watching TV.
They must have seen the nipples and gone, you know what, you've got some really nice nipples. I think we have to do a scene with those.
I know, just like, we'll have to take a side silhouetted view of your nipples.
Now you take your hand and just brush it over it slightly.
Yeah.
Very choreographed sex scene.
If the book was made in 1974 by Herbert, then that would make a lot of sense, because in 1974 was the Doctor Who serial The Talons of Weng Chiang, which is about a giant rat that lived in the sewers of Victorian London. Somewhat they must have got, I don't know, it might be vice versa, but I think they might have got the idea for the rats from that. So that's quite interesting. And I think if it was a toss-up between critters versus rats, I'll still be scared of critters, because they can just dive bomb you and they can inject you with killer needles.
Well, then you had that what is it, that extravaganza in the movie theater with every man's for himself.
Yeah, who's going to get bitten on the ankle or the hand first?
But even the extras didn't even look like they were in that much of a hurry. There's like, they're just pushing each other. It's like, we need to get out. We need to get out. There wasn't that huge panic that you normally get. There was more of a panic.
Rabbit, Saint Bernard, Saint Bernard sized rats in the theater, and everybody's all chill. It's like, come on, I can run.
When the baby died, I don't know where they filmed it, but I noticed when they dragged
the baby off the high chair.
I noticed they put newspaper down in one of the sections, so I thought that they probably didn't want to ruin the carpet or the new flooring. It must have stayed whatever they were using. So that was
mean, that baby and that poor bitch. I mean, no one liked her because no one missed her. It's just like, we're going out for a burger.
Yeah, see ya. We're gonna be ya. Yeah.
And I don't know what's going on in the city, but like the old guy, he's like coming fresh in the day. He dies, and 3 days later they found his body like in the middle of the street. It's just like, what? Where? I mean, it's like, what's going on in this city?
And we haven't even got into the teacher's role here in this film, being stalked by a student who turns up at the house and said, "Yeah, the landlady let me in," and she's just in her knickers.
Yeah.
What the hell? Like,
no. But
well, it was almost like you can't rape the willing, because he looked like he wanted to, but at the same time he didn't. You know, it's like, make up your mind. And then the woman
was really cool about it. He was like, "Yeah, oh well, I'll explain later," and she was like, "Yeah,
I know.
I'm gonna take the kid out for a whatever it was,
ice cream or something."
Yeah,
I don't know
ice
what.
cream. Yeah, you carry on.
While you're naked with one of your students just coming out of your room while your son's watching TV.
No.
But we knew that she didn't know, because we knew she was a student, but he said, "This is my friend." So, and also,
well, another thing is like,
the landlord let him in let her in the house, but she was dressed at that time. She wasn't.
I mean, how long were they home before he even went to take a shower? How long was she just sitting in bed waiting for him to come into the? I mean, he didn't go into the bedroom at all. He goes and takes a shower.
Well, it's
comes out in the towel, completely dry.
And there's a beautiful blonde waiting for him in his bed, all young and fresh and waiting for him. You know, yeah.
Because when the scene happens, I mean, he's like watching. The kid's watching TV, isn't he? And then the dad walks in, so it's like, how long she been in bed? How does the kid even know that she? You know, it's kind of a weird thing. Don't know who came up with that idea, but it didn't quite play off.
I think that they were trying to like rebound off some of the sex that was in the novel, because they really didn't have any of that, because there wasn't anything with the woman who was the nymphomaniac, who was also very religious. That was just weird. I don't understand that part, but you know, and then there was like where they having sex in that one scene, and they were on the hill and it was grassy and they slid down. All she had was that one thing. I mean, and it seemed like a lot of the book was about, they had a lot of sex scenes in it. There just wasn't any of that translated into the movie. They
also changed a lot of the characters around, because before, I mean, he's a college teacher now.
Professor?
Is he a professor in college? Is that what he's doing? I didn't look like a high school. Unless he's teaching the kids from Greece who all look like they were in their 30s, and that movie was done.
He doesn't really tell you what he's teaching or who. All I see is high schoolers around him, so I'm assuming he's a high school teacher.
Well, it just reminded me a lot of Dark Shadows, where it's like there's so many open holes in it. It's just like, it's like they don't there's nothing finished off. It's like you have these group of kids at the beginning of it, and they're partying, and then, you know, the girl gets killed with her baby brother or sister. Not quite sure what the relationship there was. They go off, and then one by one, you see the other kids get bit or go to the hospital, but you never find out whatever happens to any of these people. So they kind of, like, if you read the book, you think, oh, he got bit, so therefore he's
probably going to die.
He's probably going to die, but they don't really tell you that. So it's almost like there's huge bits of the script that are missing. They're filling it or something.
A lot. There is a, I don't know, continuity is the word I might want to use.
Yeah. And it's almost,
the flamethrower scenes look quite dangerous, actually.
I wonder how many people got hurt during those scenes. We just never heard about it.
I mean, it was a good explosion at the end, but they literally just got out of there before that place blew. It looked quite close to the bone, sort of thing. And I wouldn't have felt safe with that type of flamethrower in front of me.
Was this still supposed to be Great Britain, or is it supposed to be Toronto?
It's in America. Or
it's supposed to be the States or Toronto.
Okay.
USA.
Because I think that's part of the problem as well, is lifting the story from an English roots and giving it this North American setting. So because instead what we get is like contaminated grain that makes it dangerous.
Yeah, that was like the opening was about the sweet corn that's gone. Well,
it does say that James Herbert was not happy with what the filmmakers did to his story. He thought it was terrible and absolute rubbish.
I can understand that actually. I mean, I now own a copy that I bought for $2.99 off Amazon from Spain, but I don't think I'll be watching it anytime soon.
Just put it on American Amazon for $85. Somebody will buy it from you.
Tonight.
But yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of we've done a lot. I mean, of course, our show basically is comparing the book to screen, and I have to say that this has to be the one where there is just
nothing
so far different. I mean, all we have basically is we got the cinema sequence that's from the book.
Yeah,
we have
the
train
subway
sequence, the subway sequence, and then we got like a little bit of bits and pieces, but all the characters are totally different. I mean, the thing is like, because he's not in a stable relationship with some young nymphette, which probably should have been the blonde girl that was found in bed with him, because that probably would have made more sense if they were in a relationship.
Right.
Sort of thing, and not her being a teacher. I mean, her being a student. And then the health minister is female, so that's who he's in love with. So that changes that whole thing there, because that's supposed to be a guy in the book, isn't it? Because he gets killed he gets fired from his job because the rat attacks come back. So in the book, he has to go. He finds out where they're coming from, and that's where he dies in that person's house, doesn't he?
Right.
So that changed that whole dynamic. So it was, and then the kid. I don't know why you had to have a kid. I mean, if
there was no story to that, really. He just had a kid.
Yeah.
Some random child that he obviously was the sperm donor for at one point or another.
Well, he uses a kid to pick up women in parks, so it's like, okay.
Basically.
Get this. I tell you how bad this movie is. Who the hell plays hide and seek in the snow? It's pretty easy to find someone when they're hiding in the snow. You just follow footsteps.
It was a Christmas.
It's like playing hide and seek on the sand.
Did you guys know there's a 2002 remake of Deadly Eyes entitled The Rats? I've never seen it, and I couldn't find it. I was just wondering if anybody had seen it.
No, I haven't. I didn't know there was one. We would have gone for that one if I known.
But they said it was written by Frank Deasy and directed by Child's Play franchise writer John Lafayette. It was set in New York City. The remake was set to be released in September of 2001, but was pushed back for editing due to featuring multiple scenic shots of the World Trade Center in the background, because that was 9/11 time.
Okay. To be honest, maybe it's like Batgirl never released. So. Yeah. So,
I'd be interested to see what it's like though after this one.
It can't be any worse than this.
No, by far. I mean, I've seen some bad movies, or especially they tried to adapt it from the book. But I mean, this is up there in the top 5. It really is.
I mean, we have read books in the past where you watch the movie, and the movie would be like, they take a bit to be like, The Circus of Dr. Lau and The Seven Faces of Dr. Lau. The book is fantastic, but the movie's fantastic. And they'll work off each other very well, sort of.
Very
thing.
well.
But this has to be like one of the worst adaptations I've ever seen.
It's pretty bad. It's almost like they just did an outline and no treatment for the story. There's like nothing. Was there a screenplay? Was there anything written for this movie? Or did they say, fuck it, let's just throw it all together? I mean, I swear to God, they probably got on Wikipedia, looked up the movie, and slapped one together with an 8mm or something.
Well, it's almost like let's take the set pieces. Well, we want the set pieces, but we don't want the story.
Yeah,
that's what it felt
like that. I mean, it had its moments. I mean, I found it kind of entertaining. I mean, but the girl goes to check on the baby, who's clearly sitting in that high chair forever. That child is totally neglected. It would have probably grown up to be Michael Myers at this point.
She gets hot. But she has to smoke a joint before she goes back and checks on the baby.
While everybody's partying in the living room, and they want her to go get a burger. Don't worry, she'll be all right by herself. And it's just like, fuck the kid in the high chair.
And the thing is, though, the worst thing about it is that in those group of friends, is her brother, who's playing whatever that air guitar, that really bad song. I don't know where that song came from, but I doubt that was a hit anytime soon.
That was a hit I know about.
But like, I mean, didn't anyone go back to the house and realize like
she's dead or
not
something?
There. There's blood everywhere. They've been dragged down to the cellar by puppy rats.
You see this cute little baby, and she's looking at the rats, and they look like chihuahuas with fur something on them and tails. You know, it's like they had to have. I mean, how else could they have made them?
Well, the worst thing about it is like they're shaking the baby. I mean, was the high chair tipped over, or was it?
Yeah, the high chair was tipped over.
So it was tipped over.
Yeah.
So basically, when the rats were shaking her, she's like, and then she got, and eventually she lies on the floor. What, she didn't cry? I mean, it's just like
something, some kind of noise.
I mean, carried off by rats. Yeah. I mean,
then you see that big smudge of blood, and it's like what Craig just said. It was probably they shot the scene in somebody else's house, and they put down the newspaper so they wouldn't fuck up this guy's kitchen.
Yeah.
So he might be a valid point, Craig.
And how much blood was in that kid anyway? I mean, that's a hell of a lot of blood.
And then she's like goes downstairs, and it's like it's the screaming.
Well, the funny thing is like, you know, first of all, okay, let's sit there. Okay, you're watching a child. Let's sit there and say you just go to the bathroom and come back. Let's sit there and say that you're going to be a responsible adult, not like this woman, not like this girl. And no, come, you see this blood on the ground, okay, and you're like, and it's basically you see obviously the child's dragged down to in the basement, right? And there's a lot of blood. Why would you go, Susie, are you down here? I need to call the ambulance, and I'm gonna go look for fucking baby Susie because there's no way that she made it through this.
No,
if she's bleeding this much at the top of the stairs, what the hell is she gonna look like at the bottom of the stairs? You know? Yeah.
Yeah, there's really, this is not going to win an Emmy or Academy Award or even a fuck me running award at this point. It's just funny bad, you know.
But it's not even.
I thought like the movie is like this. The whole story, I think, goes like around. They're going to the mayor is going to put like a new train going from A to B, let's say, and he's running more around that rather than the story. You know what I mean?
Well, what about the guy going fishing? It's the middle of fucking winter. Where in the hell is he going fishing?
Ice fishing?
I don't know. I mean, you don't wear a fishing hat to go ice fishing with like a bunch of fucking lures on it. I mean, we've seen ice fishing. That's part of our background. You know, right. You're in a snowmobile suit.
Basically.
Oh.
And then you sit in a cardboard house for like hours and get drunk, and then you might catch something.
Yeah, if you're lucky. Yeah, after everyone's chainsawed their hole into the ice. But but the thing's like he just comes back and no one's wearing, you know, outside of that park sequence, they're not really dressed very warmly, are they? I don't know. It was the oddest thing I've seen in this movie. I don't think it was a box office smash.
No. I mean, it was probably a fun movie to see back in, was it 1982?
I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. We were watching some weird shit back then.
We have seen movies that were like the same time or a bit before that time, and they have visual effects that were a bit better or another way how to solve the story. But in this one, is like, I don't know, some rats were not looking really real, you know. It's like, and I understand it's impossible because at the time they didn't have like computers, but at the same time it's like, I don't know, strange.
I didn't think the rats were that. I thought the rats were kind of cool looking. I mean, I can't totally beat on it.
In 1982, these are the films from 1982: Poltergeist, Creepshow, Friday the 13th Part 3, Halloween 3, Victor Victoria, Annie, Grease 2, The Dark Crystal. So yeah, I don't. But
that was a tough year to kick anybody's ass in the movies. The Dark Crystal in and of itself.
We had Basket Case coming out that year and stuff like that. But
that's where every boy learned about sex, is Basket Case.
but Basket Case is a lot more coherent than this. I mean, this is just kind of an odd thing because If you look at other films that are coming out of Canada at this time, I mean, they were a lot better than this. I mean, you had all the David Cronenberg Shivers and all that other stuff.
Well, what did it get on Rotten Tomatoes? Something like 29% or something.
And that
29% on Rotten Tomatoes, yeah.
And that's an overachievement, I think. So.
They're saying about the lead female characters manage to be something relatively rare in a horror film. Women that have sexuality and power, but don't come off like dominatrixes or archetypical slut characters that exist as grist for the nudity mill. That's not really, it's not very charming. I don't see what Siskel and Ebert said about it. I'm sure Ebert hated it, though.
Well, I mean, I just have to say that she didn't give a lot of warmth, did she?
Yeah, I like the high school kid better than the lady with the erect nipples. I mean, it's just talk about having nipples just slap you in the face during a movie.
But it was winter. What do you want?
Rats out in the wintertime. Do rats come out? I mean, it'd been better if it was like spring, summertime, really. It would have made more sense.
Yeah, it would have. I mean, and then they would have the drunks outside a little. I mean, even drunks in London and New York City, as far as I recall, have a tendency to go inside or have a fire, going or something while they're getting hammered and talking about their shitty lives. So who knows?
I mean, the main guy in this was in a soap opera called The Edge of Night, which tells you how old he is in another world.
What's that, Sam Groom? He's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he's a lot of soap stuff.
Yeah.
I imagine this movie probably ended his film career. Yeah, pretty much.
I've seen him in like TV, made for TV movies kind of things. I remember his face in a few movies. He shows up quite a bit in like the older made for TV ABC things,
Yeah, this was his last film role, so I'm pretty sure this movie killed his career.
Yeah, his agent probably said, "Fuck it after this."
I was just like, oh my God. I mean, the blonde-haired girl was in another movie that came out a year later, or the same year, actually.
1984.
Happy Birthday to Me as well.
Yeah, but she was in 1984 too, so that'd be 3 movies.
So at least she did some culty films that were quite decent.
She did some culty stuff. That's a good way to put it.
So.
But I mean, I like the movie posters because the movie poster makes it look really interesting, It's like, and anybody who read the book was probably slightly disappointed, I'm sure. Like, look at Craig.
I don't think they were slightly disappointed. I think probably they were.
I wonder why they changed the name and called it Deadly Eyes.
The rats just doesn't sound maybe horrific enough. Who knows? Deadly Eyes, a little more mystique-ish.
Yeah,
they just should have called it Stupid People.
Yeah, really. Stupid people getting killed by cannibalistic rats. From New Guinea.
There's no reason, but there's no
rats from New Guinea.
They weren't even rats from New Guinea. They were just like regular street rats that basically just ate bad grain. Bad grain that they were going to send to a third world country to help feed them.
Yeah.
They could have called it poison poverty.
So I guess the best thing to do is let's rate this movie. So starting with you, Leandro, what do you rate Deadly Rats?
2.
I've never heard a 2 out of Leandro ever.
No, that was good. I was going to say 1, but I thought, well, all right. Let's give them a bit of.
Let's lift it up a bit for the baby killed. What about yourself, Craig? What do you rate this?
I'll give it 3 rats out of 5.
Okay, and Vicky?
I'll give it a 3 just for dead babies. Because nobody ever does dead babies in movies, so you got to give the guy a little cred for back then.
I would have given it a 3 if we could see the baby being dragged off by the rats.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, we got gypped a little bit.
Yeah, we got gypped a little bit there. I'm going to give it a 2. I mean, the thing is, I was able to watch it without like wandering, like I tend to do. I didn't pick up my phone and start wandering off or go. Oh, I'll cook dinner in the middle of watching this movie. I didn't do that. So it did keep my interest a little bit. So
it did a little bit. I was kind of hoping it would get a little more. I don't know. I was expecting more gore.
I don't know what I was expecting. I was expecting something more along the lines of Willard or Ben because they were done really well when we had the rats killing.
Those were well done, actually.
I don't know. Probably if I would have seen it in find it easier. You know, like as Vicky said, I couldn't find it in Amazon. I couldn't find it in English in YouTube. Probably if I would have said in the original language and better like quality, I would have given it a 3. But the
Landro, I saw it on DVD with a cleaned up print, and it was in English. And trust me, it wasn't any better.
It wasn't.
If anything, the rats looked even worse. Probably cleared up. I mean, I hate to see, apparently there's a Blu-ray of this coming out, which I don't think is going to do it. It's not going to do it any favors. So I think.
But people really it's an expensive disc to purchase for some reason. Somebody likes it.
Well, I think it's because it went off market, but I think Shout or one of those are coming out with a special Blu-ray of this. So
I imagine it probably. I have this book, right? And then here it says from the multi-million copy bestseller. So probably that's why all the people think, oh yeah, the movie. Let's go and watch it, and then then they realize.
Well, usually the movie comes first, and then people, I got to read the book, or people like us that read Stephen King. Oh, now we can go watch the movie. So I think it might have been a little ass backwards. You never know.
Yeah. What about doing a reflection of season 5, Kings of Horror? Which movie did you think was the best that we covered this season?
Oh,
and I'll start with Vicky because she always looks flabbergasted. And she's quite funny to call in first.
Because I knew you were gonna do this shit to me today, and I didn't write down nothing. That's like fuck you. But oh god, some of the best movies. Oh god, most of the movies we covered were great. Like Ghost Story wasn't near as good as the book. Battle Royale I thought was really well done. But after I watched it with the subtitles in the English, and I just couldn't take it. So I had to watch it with the Japanese and just read because it made more sense to me like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I really loved that movie. I don't know why. I just did. But I mean, I enjoyed a lot of everything we did. What else did we do this year besides that? We did
Little Shop of Horrors.
Love Little Shop of Horrors. I mean, I love both versions.
One in.
What was that?
Dead Zone, Nightbreed.
I love Nightbreed. I love all that stuff. I mean, you can't, let the right one in. That was a fantastic. I think I was sick traveling, but that was an excellent read, and that was an excellent movie. I love the movie. That one was really good. I forgot about Let the Right One In because that was just a really weird vampire story. It just was.
Well, it had all the.
It wasn't typical. You had child abuse and weird shit going on, and
the book had the pedophilia and all that going on.
Yeah, that you could tell that was going on.
And the drunks and the woman.
Well, he had it coming. And
her throwing herself out the window and all the other stuff going on. So yeah,
I don't know. I love all the mess. There's something about this book. I mean, this movie really was. I mean, it was bad, but. I mean, the Masters of Horror, I mean, just the title, it says it all. I mean, we're here because we love it, for the most part. And I mean, there's always something good, even if it's funny, like we just, beat the piss out of this one. But I mean, at least that's a positive,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that vampire story was really a good read.
And what about yourself, Craig? What's your favorite movie that we covered this in Kings of Horror?
I'm going to say Dead Zone because it gave me goosebumps.
That really was good, though.
Yeah.
I love Christopher Walken. There's just something about, I don't know what it is. It's not his good looks or whatever, but he has just some kind of charisma about him that he just brings to a film.
And
He
two
really does.
2 for 180s, I liked The Lady in White and Killer Clowns.
Love that movie.
Yeah. Brilliant. There's some really good things.
We covered a lot of good stuff this year. I can't believe we're wrapping up another year. Oh my God.
Another year.
Gone fast.
And what about yourself, Leandro? What was your favorite film for the Kings of Horror?
It's hard. I mean, it's hard because it's not that we have done all movies about vampires or all movies about the same. They're different, but I think I would say with Ghost Story, because I've never seen a movie with Fred Astaire before. It was cool. That actress, I don't know the name, but
Alice Creed.
She has a really good face of a terror movie.
I love her movies. She's good as a villainess. She's good as a heroine. She's a well-accomplished actress. I mean, she's well-rounded.
And she did a Star Trek movie, didn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I would keep with that movie. I
love her in Silent Hill. Is it Silent Hill? She's the bad guy in Silent Hill.
Yeah, she's in that as well.
She's just a filthy, vermin, disgusting despot in that movie. I just love her.
I think my favorite movie probably is going to be Let the Right One In for this season. It's only because, but is it my favorite adaptation? Probably not. I always think I would love to see a faithful adaptation to the book of Let the Right One In, but I don't think that's ever going to happen because that would get an X rating probably.
Probably.
But I think that's my favorite movie. That or Battle Royale. I like Battle Royale a lot.
I love Battle Royale, but not when they're doing the English. That I don't know who they found to do the voiceovers and that, but I mean I was going nuts. I mean because it just drove me crazy. It's just better to watch that one with the original Japanese language and read the subtitles. It makes the movie so much better that way. If you've got the patience anyway to do it that way.
Well, this brings us to the end of the Literature License Podcast, Kings of Horror Season 5. Next month, we'll be starting America Goes Dark, and we'll be starting our American Goes Dark season with Whatever Happened to Baby Jane by Henry Farrell and the 1964 film starring Betty Davis and Joan Crawford. Next week, we'll be covering our Make remakes, which will be King Kong from 1933 and King Kong from 2004, the Peter Jackson remake. And we'll be coming to a close, the 80s. Our 2 for 1 will be covering American Gothic, starring Yvonne DiCarlo from The Munsters and Rod Steiger from Amityville Horror and Motel Hell. And of course, we'll be finishing off our Dark Shadows, which will be our third from the end of our Dark Shadows coverage. And we'll be totally finished with Dark Shadows, covering all 1,241 episodes of it. So before we say goodnight, it's goodnight for myself. Good night, Vicki.
Good night, everybody. Take care of each other.
Good night, Craig.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Leandro.
Good night, everyone.
And we'll see you next week for King Kong.